Remember, we're making history now.
Everybody, Sasquatch Auntie's here. Begunny Bigfoot Storytelling Project, and we just want to
bring you an awesome story out of the location that we told you that we were going to be having this really awesome guest today, and we're actually back out at that same location. The background might look a little bit different, but still a real cool place and space, and also a hot spot for Bigfoot.
Yeah, so our last video when we kind of gave channel update, we were right here, and the person I was talking about that we were going to do the interview with, he's sitting right here with us today, so we're pretty excited. So we're here this evening out on Cupbank Creek, and I just want to introduce Scott B. Begunny here from the Blackfeet Reservation, and his name is Wade Running Crane. So he's just going to give you a little background of who he is, and he's got some pretty exciting story to tell us.
Hi, my name's William Wade Running Crane. When I was young, I was raised by a 118-year-old grandmother. Her name was Nellie Bullshoe Running Crane. She taught me a lot and told me a lot. A lot of when I got with my parents, my mom and dad. My dad was a hunter and trapper, and he taught me how to be an awesome hunter and trapper. His name was Winslow Deverell. He was my stepfather, but nonetheless my father figure. And he taught me about God, about Jesus, the Creator. He taught me about being in balance in life. Everything I have to share with you is true. I have more than one story to share, and I'd like to start sharing them with story number one. Hi, this is William Wade Running Crane again, and I'm about to tell you a true story that happened and occurred to me. 1986, when I was firefighting in Elk Creek National Park, Idaho, my first encounter with Bigfoot. Keep in mind, I was a doubter, a skeptic beforehand. I didn't believe they were real. I couldn't believe what occurred and what happened to me, what I seen. When I think back, I'm actually pretty excited and happy it happened now, because I get to tell my story. And I always wanted to tell people what I saw and what really happened. I've even been interviewed on radio. And I'm about to tell you the same story that Tom Biscardi recorded from me. I saw Bigfoot. I didn't know it was Bigfoot at first. I didn't know what it was. I just seen something big and upright walking. And it took it about 5 minutes to get to me from where I first noticed it. But before I tell you about how me and Bigfoot came in contact with each other, let me tell you how it all really came to be. We were the last crew off the mountains. And there was about 2,900 other firefighters, and we finally got to go back to base camp after about 3 days of fighting fire. Well, we got back to camp that night about 2:30. They gave us time to eat and take a shower and turn in, go to bed. Well, I had my headlamp and my Walkman. Back in 1986, we had Walkmans, and I was kind of tangled up. And I noticed this tame deer to the right of me. And I admired that tame deer, like up in Waterton Lakes National Park. You can pet them and feed them. They're real tame. Well, anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Because all I was tired of seeing was burnt and death, and that's what and fire and smoke. And I was kind of like happy. Next thing I seen this thing walking upright through these housing projects. Could see the floodlights, the outside lights, and it walking, and how tall it was as it walked. What I saw was 11, 12 feet tall, walking. It was also sniffing around on all fours, standing upright, looking around, moving around. Then it came through the gate into our main camp where we done all of our eating, got our property and supply, our kitchen was, our tables were all set up. And back was where they parked the cars, and there were restrooms back here, and there were also places where people could wash up before supper. And over here was our first aid and our headquarters and everything else. And then all the camps were like from back around there all the way completely around us. And the showers were over here, and I was coming back, and I run into the deer. And then the Bigfoot came, and he came through the gate. When he came through the gate, it was about 300, 400 yards out. I really wasn't sure, but it was about that far out. And at first it was Bigfoot. Let me tell you this, it was Bigfoot. And I had my headlamps on it, and all I could see was the eyes, and its eyes were big and red. And when it got closer, I could see that it was dark amber brown red, kind of brown red. And I was kind of scared, but I was also curious at the same time. I had to see what I was seeing. I was scared and curious at the same time. Okay, he come through the gate, and I'm looking at Bigfoot. And he's upright, like so, and he's about 11, 12 feet tall. And he's about 400 yards out away from me. Bigfoot gets down like this. And somehow he done it with his front, turned everything like this. Still look like Bigfoot. And he did something with the back legs where he did the same thing in front, and they turned into paws like a wolf. And the ears came up sharp on the Bigfoot while he's on all fours, and the snout came out. And keep in mind, everything that he done without making any sound like they do in movies where they creak and crack and all that. It just did it. It just did it. So it's a wolf, and it's walking towards me. And it looks like it's going to tear me up. And the only reason I knew it wasn't a wolf was because it had no tail. And it's the biggest wolf I ever seen. Well, anyway, it got about 200 yards from me. And then it done this. Got down on the ground, and from wolf paws and on all fours, I don't know how it did it, but it went like this. and it turned in, and it was looking straight at me at all times, and it turned into the biggest grizzly bear I ever seen. The wolf's snout went back a little shorter, the ears went down a little bit rounder, and a hump came up on its back, and it looked like it had grizzly claws. And it walked towards me. And just when it got roughly, I'd say about 8 feet from me, and I thought he was going to attack me or kill me, I knew I had to see what I was seeing. As scared as I was, I had to see what I was seeing because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so awesome. It stood up from a grizzly bear and turned back into Bigfoot right before my very eyes. And when it did that, I didn't challenge it by looking it directly in the eyes. I kept looking at its chest, its face. And keep in mind, I'm looking up at it like this, thinking, not talking, just thinking. And then I would look at its chest, then I would look up at its face again. And memorize it, and look at its chest, look at its face. Because if I kept looking at its eyes, I knew it would attack me and think I was challenging it. And so I kept showing it that I was submissive and not dominant. I was submitting to it. And that way it wouldn't harm me. Hopefully. I didn't have no idea, but it worked. And that's what I saw. And then about that time, I had been hollering for some of my crew to get up and have a look at what I was witnessing. And they were telling me, come on, Running Crane, go back to bed. It's late. Finally, Byard Kirkledee did get up, and a few other people, I don't know who they were, all got up, but Byard had a bigger flashlight than me, and he flashed it on the whole creature and scared it, and it ran away back out towards where the pickups were parked that way, and towards the timber, and up we could hear it crashing through the timber and the brush, and when it hit the barbed wire and ripped through the barbed wire, and there was also a river. You could hear it when it hit the river, and it was psh, 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 and then it kind of went quiet, and it would start breaking branches again on the other side of the river. That's story number 1.
So that was a pretty good story. I really enjoyed listening to that, Wade. I just, we've on our channel here, we've heard all kinds. Sometimes people believe Bigfoot is flesh and blood, and it's just like another animal species out there. And then some of our people we've interviewed believe that Bigfoot is spiritual, and even can go into portals and come out of portals, and some believe that he's a helper,
He's that too.
So there's many different views, and we like to hear them all.
Yeah, and I think your story is the first time I've ever heard it, with our stories that we've been listening to, even without having them being recorded or videoed on our channel, we have already heard quite a few stories, all the way from here to I travel around, so a lot of people know us in Indian country here in Montana, and one of the places my mom's home reservation is Fort Belknap, And so a lot of people hear our stories and they tell us, you know, they tell me the stories without being on video because they know our project here of the Bigfoot Story Project. And so, but yet we have heard also from other like
Locals.
yeah, about how, you know, all I guess what you call like the theories of what Bigfoot is, and the shape shifting is one of them. You know, and so this is I was really kind of in awe over his story, his experience that he had. That we haven't heard that yet. You know, right here.
Not just an encounter, but also seeing it transform itself.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
to a wolf, to a bear, and then back.
Yes.
To me, after I got done seeing all that, I was like, that must mean he fools people by turning into a bear or a wolf to think, well, that's what they're looking at, so they'll leave it alone and just go, more or less go the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you're out of sight, he turns back into Bigfoot. A lot of times I suspect that's what they can do.
You know, that just reminded me of a conversation I had with you a few years ago. Remember, since we've been doing a lot of research and listening to stories around the world, listening to other stories, reading stories that are encountered from way back to 1600s, with Dave Politis's books that I've been reading. I was thinking of that, like, I didn't know, you know, we're learning so much. I didn't know that they walk on all fours, you know, until like, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? I think it was 3 years ago. And so then it brought me back to that time when I was telling you when I was driving back from Flathead on Highway 2. Highway 2 is right through the mountains coming to Browning. And just before you hit Continental Divide, I think it was that area. And this was like in the mid-2000s when I should drive back a lot. And remember I told you I seen this really weird looking bear run across the road. And at first when I seen it coming on the highway, I thought it was like a big dog. Like, what is that? That's a big dog because it had such long like arms or whatever, arms, legs. But after I got closer, it was kind of big and bulky. So I was like, oh, that's a bear. But it went so fast that I thought, well, why is it walking like that? So weird, like you know.
Yeah.
But then once it got, and then I passed it on the highway, it went down into some trees. And once I went right past it, I looked, and then all of a sudden its head is up. And I told Carrie Lynn about it, and that was that long ago. And I always thought that was just the weirdest looking bear. And that all of a sudden it decided to get up and kind of walk once it got down in the ditch. So I just thought I'd bring that out because her and Carrie Lynn and I both talked about it a little bit.
Can I share an encounter that Larry Higgins, when he was alive, shared with our whole family? He was on his way over to Kalispell on that same stretch of road, and Bigfoot crossed the road.
Yep.
And scared the bejeebers out of him. He stopped because it was icy and kind of ugly out. He just turned around and came home. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share about that part of the road. A lot of people do have sightings all the way up, going up west. Reason being is because that highway used to be an old war trail, Blackfeet war trail. And that's how we kind of made it over to the Kootenai and Ponderosa and raided them and whatnot. But that's why the highway's through there. That's why all the roads are through there, because those were our war trails. We showed them how to get through the pass.
We have heard already a few stories on that road corridor pass. Our cousin and his friend is one of them who told us about a sighting they seen crossing the road. And then I have another friend in the community that hasn't gotten on the channel yet, but she told a story of her and her friend, who's from Heartbeat, I believe, saw it
keep in mind they're all through there. as
Crossing
you
through
go
there.
that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
You know, all the mountains on both
Reminded me
sides.
of my dad and my mom. They're always traveling late, so they were like heading over toward Kalispell, and my dad said, he said it was already dark by the time they kind of got through the mountains. And there's this one area where it's just kind of a straightaway. He said it's kind of open on an open field on one side, and then the pine trees kind of are on the back area. He said, when we came through there, he said this smell came into our vehicle. He said, and he said it was stink. He said, and he said, but when I, driving, how you can just glance, you can't really stare at something. He said, but I did kind of glance. He said, and I saw like a black figure standing right at the edge of the trees. He said, but I just kind of glanced and looked away and kept my eyes on the road. He said, I kind of didn't put two and two together till we got down the road, and my mom was saying, roll the windows down, it stink. And my dad said, we can't, because that's where it's coming from. If we roll them down, it's going to be worse. So he said, but after we got down the road, it kind of cleared up. He said, we did roll the windows down to kind of air out their car. He said, and after they got to the motel and place they were staying, he said, I started thinking about that. He said, and I started thinking, hey, then I saw that kind of black thing standing there. It's like, I wonder if that was a Bigfoot. He said, because of so many sightings on Highway 2 there, going through the mountains, and then that smell.
That smell is definitely a sign, a plus evidence, there ain't no way to capture all of the evidence. That's what's hard about Bigfoot. And best we've been able to do so far is tracks, hair, scat, and sometimes we find their kills, we find their nests, structures, tree structures all over out here. Sometime in the future we'll have to pick out some good ones to share with you folks, and we'll go and share them.
Yeah. The exciting Wade's gonna come on a excursion with us, so keep that in mind. So we'll have a new
video story.
Yeah, we're gonna all go out and do a Bigfoot search, and he's pretty familiar with all the hot spots on the res.
Yeah, and evidence. And
when you hunt with me, you can't be afraid of nothing. And I mean nothing.
Oh, we're scaredy cats too. We always want to find Bigfoot, then when something happens,
this is my support.
The scaredy cats.
Get scared.
We're gonna be all right.
No, this will be good. I think Wade will give us that courage we need. Right? Yeah.
Because if I get a chance, I'm going to talk to him. That's a promise. If I get the opportunity, the chance, I will talk to him. I've seen them. I've been face to face with them. I'm not afraid. And they won't hurt me. They already told me. Okay?
Yeah, you also kind of believe like they can talk telepathically to you?
Yeah, telepathically. My dad was Winslow Devereaux. If you knew my father, he was a great hunter and trapper and awesome sportsman. Well, after seeing Bigfoot, I quit trapping and hunting. I don't even own a weapon no more. I got a fishing pole, that's it. Hence the picture.
Wait the bee and Wade.
I'm always fishing for Bigfoot.
There we go.
Keep in mind, Bigfoot walked with my ancestors. We walked with the giants. My ancestors taught us that. That's the Obscopy Pigani. Kainai, Sixiga, and Obscopy Pigani. These are all my nuppy.
Tell us about, remember you were talking about you said it's not too long because the encounter didn't last long, but when you were working for the road department.
Oh yeah, sure. We was on lunch break, and me and one of the door boys went up by the water tower by Harbutte, and we were looking through. Well, he was looking through his binoculars. I was looking through mine, eating our lunch, and it's kind of relaxing because we was on break. And he picked up something going in the brush, coming out, picking something up, hauling it back into the brush, then throwing it out, coming out, retrieving it, and bringing it back in to the brush. And that went on for like, I don't know, about 10 minutes. Then it stopped, and it just went out of sight. But it was so far away, we both agreed that we were looking at Bigfoot. He had his binoculars, I had mine, and we couldn't but agree. It had to be Bigfoot because it was upright, it was reddish brown, and I'd say about probably 10 feet tall, maybe 9. But we were so far away, we just knew it was good size, you know, of what we were looking at. We went over that area later on, and whatever it was probably 10 feet. And that's my estimate. Because I tried to get measurements on everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
I believe in documenting Bigfoot.
Go back to the area.
Let me correct myself. Big hairy man. I believe in trying to get all the evidence I can possibly get scientifically. They're a cryptid creature. We have lots to learn. We don't know everything. We know a lot, but we don't know everything. We still got lots to learn. I have more stories to share with you. But I'd like to kind of gather some of my evidence so I can honestly present them in a truthful manner to you, so that you'll know that there's no lies when I'm done. Bigfoot's real. That's all I can say about this subject is he's real. But there's more cryptid creatures in this world than you realize. The Navajo believe in, what's that one they have?
Skinwalker?
The skinwalker. Do you know that creature's real? They have skinwalkers. Don't doubt it.
Don't scare us.
Don't scare me. You're scaring me. No.
Scaring us.
I've heard so many
Bigfoot's
stories
real.
Of
Aliens are real. UFOs are real. Believe it or not, we are the front line. We're going to be the first ones to know something when it happens, before it happens. Hopefully we'll have time to share with you. And that's all I can tell you.
Good.
And I think one of the reasons behind, I mean, we were off camera, we were talking about this, was one of the things that why this has been ongoing within our generations and within our tribes is because we as a people have shown that respect. You know, just like with anything and everything within our nature, within nature, that we've always had that respect. And Wade was just talking with us. He watches our channel as well, and he was talking about how he is concerned about us ladies being out there looking and everything, and because there's, you know, you never know what can happen, but we do take precautions. We do
Bigfoot's like our women better than their own.
No.
They do.
But yeah, something that kind of stood out to me was when Wade was talking about, when he was telling us, like, be careful out there, I mean, he was really serious about it because he said when he had that encounter with that Bigfoot, he said it was a male and it was just pure muscle.
Yeah.
That's all this
He could have
thing
reached
was.
out and grabbed me if he wanted to and just went
Yeah.
like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to do this.
Ooh.
He could have just done that to me.
Yeah.
That's how big he was.
And so
And I know that.
when you try to imagine that in your mind of a creature and a being that's just that big,
Yeah,
and that
that
much
intelligent
muscle.
too, with some insight and intelligence. However, what I was trying to finish saying is that we as indigenous, as Mskapi Bagani, as Dakota, as Ani, we have that respect.
Cree too. Hey.
And Cree, is we have that respect, of praying, and that's one thing that Carrie Lynn and I do all the time before we come out here,
And I do too.
is we
Amen.
pray. And then we show that respect and honor. We're curious, yes, but we're also, we're very curious, but we care too. Might sound crazy, but we do care about these beings.
To me, my grandpa told me, and his grandpa told him, and his grandfathers told him before that. This whole world is our church. How they knew it was around, I don't know. They said this whole world is our church. Everybody in it, everywhere you go, is holy and sacred. You think you know everything? You don't. You think you know everything? You don't. Every religion, everybody is in the Native American church. Mother Earth is our church. That's the Native American church. We talk about preserving and having a future for our kids. That's what we had. Why can't we promise it to them? Bigfoot wants that for everybody. He wants a future. He wants to live. He told me he wants to live. He wants us to live too. It's within our destiny to change our destiny. We don't have to go down the wrong road. We can plant more trees and more gardens and bring our ozone back. Help the beaver repopulate, because wherever beaver go, abundance follows later. We need to do things like that preserve life, that give life. When the Europeans first landed on our continent, our continent was littered with trees. Now they're almost more than half gone. Nobody's replacing nothing. If we would save the rainforests, all other trees everywhere else that's being deforested, we could save ourselves. Right now, that's part of the ozone, why global warming, everything's really happening. Plus fossil fuels, all of our vehicles. We're part of the guilt. And we can't get out of that. Might even have to go back to wagons and horse and boogie.
I'm game.
I know.
But it reminds me, of teaching people to appreciate nature and to appreciate the land. And like Lonnie was talking about, having that respect. We've been discussing about writing for some small grants, and
it is
being
so
able
vital to
take,
have respect and honor for Mother Nature and everything that grows wild and is grown by mankind too, but mainly wild. Because out here, we have all of our medicine and our food. And it is here.
Yeah.
It is here.
So that's one of the projects we want to do is take young people out
Yeah.
and start bringing them out on hikes, start showing them this land. And because if they begin to develop an appreciation for the land at a young age, it's going to carry on into adulthood, you know. And as they become adults, they're going to be able to appreciate
Put them on. Keep your hands warm.
this land
They're kind of warm,
in a greater
actually.
way.
Thank you, though.
And so that's one small, say, effort that we want to do, you know, is just to bring these young people out and these kids out to experience that.
I would also like to preserve our home for the future too.
What does it sound like?
It's on the highway.
It is. That howl. Okay, that is the highway. Yeah, but earlier when you were talking, it sounded like from a real distance, but like a ooh, like that kind of.
You know, when you guys were setting up and I was over here, I thought I heard that, but that's what I thought too. I thought, is that from the highway?
No, I could distinguish that highway sound.
You know what
I could
sucks
hear
about
that
me?
sound.
I have plastic eardrums. I went
Okay.
through like 16 ear operations to hear again. And my hearing, I just went and got checked out. And my hearing is somewhat more diminished, impaired. And it's kind of bad, but I can hear.
I might have had a Bigfoot holler during our interview.
I should have brought my recorder that will pick up that sound. This story is, one time I was investigating out at the Hall's residence, out at Blacktail, Whitetail, in that area. And I was talking to Glenda Hall, and at the time, she was telling me about witnessing a female with her baby, and how the baby got up on its shoulder, and the mama's shoulder and the arm like, and then kind of descended into some willows out at their place out at Blacktail, Whitetail. And we had a lot of Bigfoot activity out there before that, where Bigfoots were literally coming out and sitting right out in the open looking at us. Well, one time, that mom came out and Glenda seen it with her kids and that baby, and then the female headed out with her baby after being spotted and like hit the road. And a little while later, you could hear that female getting it by a male Bigfoot, and the male Bigfoot was making this sound, something like this, like he was talking to that female Bigfoot. And then that female was like, and the male would every now and we heard that. Anyway, that was one of the stories I wanted to share with you. Anyway, Bigfoot. But we heard that and we witnessed that. But before that, we were seeing them. They were coming out looking right at us. And we didn't have all the equipment and everything because we wasn't even into Bigfooting then. We just started then getting into it. And it's still going on. That's all I can say. Everywhere out here.
You know, people always try to, like when you hear these sounds in the woods, it's like that story I was telling you about when I was in the RV and I had those screams. People always try to discredit, and I can understand that, oh, it was a bear. Oh, it was a moose. Oh, it's an elk. Oh, it's a mountain lion. It's, and they identify all these sounds.
It's because we want answers.
And so they're always identifying sounds, and then sometimes I'll listen to those sounds that they're saying, it's a mountain lion. And when that cop, because somebody had called it in when I heard those screams, because I guess they had been going on for a while. So the cop came,
Well,
asking me, and
I have heard mountain lions where their scream or growl or whatever does sound like a woman.
Yeah, and that's
Screaming.
what the cop asked me. He's like, did it sound like a woman? Did it sound? And I was like, no. I was like, plus, I said, the scream was too powerful. I said, it was like actually penetrating your chest. And he looked at me kind of strange, and he's like, do you think it was a Bigfoot? And I looked at him and I said, yeah. And he said, no. He said, I'm serious. He said, since I've been a cop here, he said, I became a believer in Bigfoot. And so, but going back to the sounds that we hear.
You didn't get no badge number or name?
I didn't get his name, but I asked my niece, who at the time, I think she was working for law enforcement. I think she did tell me what his name was, but I never did run into him or anything like that, and get to ask him.
Well, he's probably BIA cop, because they
if he
rotate
would
him
come
around.
and maybe do an interview or something like that. 'Cause
Yeah, that'd be good.
it would be nice to get like actually law enforcement to speak on the things that they've encountered and happened.
Yeah,
because
the government's released a lot, so why can't they?
They have to go investigate these sightings,
Yeah.
and they're out there. They're probably seeing more activity than we are, and hearing more than we are.
Well, like I said, I've interviewed Fish and Game and law enforcement, and they just tell me that such and such incident did happen, but they will not let me have no report. That's all. They just verify that it did happen, and that's all they say. And then they tell me that the interview's over. And then I have to go. I want to go to jail.
I want to go to jail for Bigfoot.
Yeah, Bigfoot get me thrown in the clink. Okay, where's your drone? They're like, whoa, what is that? I see that moving up.